Hello everyone. Very good afternoon to all of you students. Am I audible? Okay. Okay, let's get started. Tell me the last topic in last class, the last topic what we are discussing, the last topic, ladder circuit. Okay. Uh, Students, let us try one more problem related to ladder circuit. Let us do one more problem related to that. Students, suppose we are having a circuit like this. Again, this is the ladder circuit, but here we have something different. Suppose this is 2 ohm, this is 4 ohm, this is 4 ohm, this is 8 ohm, this is 8 ohm, this is 16 ohm, and so on. It goes up to infinite, right, everyone? And we are supposed to find equivalent resistance across AB. RAB is to be calculated. Clear? So again, this is the same case, similar case, right? As we have already discussed this ladder circuit in last class, we had this discussion in last class. Okay, but if you see at that time, resistances in each loop were exactly similar, same type of repetition was there. If you remember that question which we had discussed in last class, 2 ohm, 4 ohm, then again 2 ohm, 4 ohm, 2 ohm, 4 ohm, 2 ohm, 4 ohm. Okay, so repetition was there. But here we don't have repetition. We have 2 ohm, 2, 4, 4, 8, 8, 16, 16, 32 like this, right? So the question is how to solve such type of circuits, how to solve. So let me tell you this thing quickly. Students, here by removing one loop, I can consider these 2 points as CD. And also students, let me tell you one more thing. If you really want to solve this type of problems, just remember one more thing. Suppose we are having this type of simple circuit, and here suppose let's say this resistance is 3 ohm, this is 6 ohm, and this is 2 ohm, right? So can you tell me the equivalent resistance in this case for this circuit? Can you tell me the equivalent resistance for this circuit? Can you tell me the equivalent resistance quickly? Tell me fast. Yes, this is a very simple circuit. So what will be the equivalent resistance in this case? 4R. 4R, yeah, absolutely. 4 ohm, right? Dio, doing something wrong. 5 by 2, no, it's not 5 by 2. Maybe yes, absolutely 4 ohm. You can see that 3 ohm, 6 ohm are in parallel. So 3 and 6 will give us 3, 6 divided by 3 plus 6. So this is coming out as 18 by 9 means 2 ohm. And when this 2 ohm is solved with this 2 ohm in series, so we'll be getting final as 4 ohm, right? Now students, suppose if I ask you to consider new resistances in the same circuit like 8 ohm, 12 ohm, and 24 ohm. Can you tell me equivalent resistance right now in this circuit, for this circuit equivalent resistance? Did you get it? This 4 ohm? Did you get this 4 ohm? Dio talking to you. Okay, good. Swidlin, yes, absolutely. Good. 16 ohm. Everyone can get this 16 ohm easily, right? So the point which actually I wanted to tell you is, if in any circuit diagram you multiply each resistance by a common number, by a common factor, then the equivalent resistance also gets multiplied by the same factor. If you compare these two circuits, this one and this one, you will find like each resistance is multiplied by 4. 2 ohm, 8 ohm, 3 ohm has become 12 ohm, 6 ohm has become 24 ohm. So each resistance is multiplied by 4, then we are getting this circuit. So definitely you can see that equivalent resistance is also multiplied by the same factor 4. Are you getting this thing? Everyone tell me. If you multiply each resistance of any network by a common factor, by the same factor, then the answer, then the R equivalent also gets multiplied by that same factor. That's good. That's great. You all have got it. Perfect. Now let me use the same concept here. If I draw the circuit from CD, if I draw the circuit from CD, it would appear like 4 ohm, 8 ohm, 8 ohm, 16 ohm, 16 ohm, 32 ohm, up to infinity. So if you see, if you compare these two circuits, and if I consider R equivalent across AB as R, right? Then tell me, if you compare these two circuits, then tell me whether it would appear like this circuit, this whole circuit, each resistance of this whole circuit has been multiplied by a number 2, isn't it? Tell me this. Yes, that's great. So each number you can compare. This is, here we have 2 ohm, here we have 4. 4, 8, 4, 8, 8, 16. Each resistance is multiplied by 2. So that means across CD, if we calculate how much resistance we would be getting, or we can expect how much resistance, if resistance across AB is R, absolutely certain this will come out as 2R. Perfect. Great. That's great. And that's done. Now nothing is left in this problem. Let me redraw the circuit. This is 2 ohm, this is 4 ohm, and here we have across CD 2R, and when I solve this value, this will come out as R, right? So 4 ohm and 2 ohm, 4 ohm and 2R will make it 8R by 4 plus 2R, and this parallel is in series with 2, so I can write like this, and this equals R. So we can solve in order to get this, the value to, I can simplify this as, I can write it as 4R by 2 plus R equals R minus 2. So 4R equals R minus 2 into R plus 2, that is R square minus 4. So R square minus 4R minus 4 equals 0. Use quadratic formula and get the answer. So the basic idea behind this question was just that, the common factor multiplication, right? And you all have got it completely. Perfect. Good. Now students, this was about some, ladder circuits, right? So now the equivalent resistance part is complete. And now let's talk about some electrical instruments. Only this part is left in this chapter. Which part? Electrical instruments. This is very important. And what we are supposed to study in this? We are supposed to study ammeter, voltmeter, meter bridge, potentiometer, right? These four electrical instruments are remaining, right? So let's start. You know, what is the use of ammeter? It is used in measuring current, definitely. What is the use of voltmeter? It is used in measuring voltage, definitely. But these two devices, ammeter and voltmeter, are made by using These two devices are made by using a very basic device that is known as galvanometer. So before starting the discussion of ammeter and voltmeter, we'll have to talk about galvanometer firstly. Okay, what is galvanometer? Students, we have one chapter in our syllabus that is magnetic effects of current that we'll be talking about later after this chapter. That is next to next chapter, right? Galvanometer. Galvanometer will be discussed in that chapter completely with the detail. We'll be talking about principle, its working and theory in detail in that chapter. But why I am mentioning this galvanometer right now, if it is to be discussed in that chapter? The reason is because the ammeter and voltmeter part, which we are supposed to study in this chapter, actually ammeter and voltmeter both are made from this galvanometer. That's why I'm introducing galvanometer. And uh, about galvanometer, I'll be telling you few points only. So we are supposed to have a basic idea about galvanometer, not complete idea. Complete idea will be given in magnetic effect of electric current chapter. So let me tell you basic idea about this instrument. First of all, let us know that it is a device which detects very small electric current. Students, I'm not saying that it measures current. No, I'm saying it detects. Means it just tells us whether there is some current flowing in the circuit or not. It just tells us. It gives two-sided deflection. Basic things we are supposed to know right now. Two-sided deflections means it has its needle in the middle. Are you getting this thing? Its needle in the middle. That means it can be deflected towards right side or left side, right? In both direction, it can be deflected. So definitely, if you this is kind of galvanometer, I am just showing its interface with which it appears. And when we suppose flow some current in this direction, then suppose needle deflects, needle shows some deviation in clockwise, then on passing current in opposite direction, it shows deflection in anti-clockwise. And here we have at the middle 0, right? So it gives two-sided deflections. We'll be discussing about its functioning, about its principle in the chapter, as I told you in detail, right? So the third thing related to this galvanometer is uh, it has it has a very small current range. It has a very small current range. Are you getting this thing? Means the value of current, the maximum value, let me call this as IG. The maximum value of current that can be passed through the galvanometer safely is very small. Like it is the order of few microampere. This is very small amount of current that can be passed through it, right? A large amount of current like 1 ampere, 2 ampere cannot be passed through it. If it is, suppose it is passed, a large amount of current is passed, then this galvanometer device will not work, will get damaged, right? So it has a very small current range, or we can say it is a very sensitive device. It is a very sensitive device. You know, What do you mean by sensitiveness? You know, what do you mean by sensitiveness? What do you mean by sensitiveness? Sensitiveness means for small input, if we get large output. For small input, if we get large output, then we say that the device is more sensitive. For example, if we say a person is sensitive, then how do we say? We say on what basis we say like this, that person is sensitive. If suppose for a very small thing, for a very small input, if person reacts more, means output is large, then we say the person is more sensitive, right? So the basic concept of this sensitiveness is, if for a small input we get large output, we say the device or the person is more sensitive. Is it clear? So it is a very high sensitive, it is very sensitive device, means it measures, as I'm saying, that it measures very small, it has a very small current range. That means for this order of current only, it starts showing full deflection, means the output is large for a very small input. So it is a very high sensitive device, right? It has high sensitiveness. Clear to you all? Is it clear to you all? And on which principle it works, what is the functioning, what happens inside the device, all these things will be discussed in magnetic effect of electric current chapter. I hope you all are getting this point. Okay, that's good, that's good. Now let's talk about one more thing related to this galvanometer. In this device, in this device, the angle of deflection, angle of deflection in the needle, in the needle, that is theta, is directly proportional to current I. I is what? Electric current, electric current flowing through it. Right, everyone? So this is the concept of galvanometer. Now we are going to see how galvanometer is converted into ammeter and how it is converted into voltmeter. Clear to you all? Am I clear? This means that smaller is the current flowing through the galvanometer, smaller will be the deflection. If you make the current twice, the deflection will become twice. Right? This is the thing. Now, what I'm going to tell you, see this. I'm going to explain before you how to conversion of galvanometer into ammeter. I'm going to explain before you how to convert galvanometer into ammeter. Let's check this. And what does it mean by converting a galvanometer into a meter? What what do we want to do? What is the meaning of this conversion? Let us discuss in detail. Students, the only one problem that we have with galvanometer is its current range. Its current range is very small. That is of the order of micro ampere. Okay, that is of the order of, let's say, 2 microampere, 3 microampere, 5 microampere. Okay, this is the range, this is the maximum value of current that can be passed to the galvanometer, right? And if current is exceeded further, then galvanometer will get damaged. Clear? So this is the problem. Now suppose, students, we want, definitely ammeter is a device which is used to measure current. Now students, suppose we want to some have an ammeter which has some large current range. Suppose I want to have some electric device which can measure current up to 5 ampere, right? And we cannot do this thing with this galvanometer directly. Why not with this galvanometer? Let me tell you again how this galvanometer is obtained. This will be discussed in next to next chapter. But right now, just think like we are already having some device called galvanometer, and now we are thinking that what is the problem with this galvanometer? This is highly sensitive and we cannot measure. If you want to measure, suppose in some circuit 5 ampere measurement up to 5 ampere is required, then this cannot be done directly with this galvanometer, because this galvanometer is having only current range, let's say up to 2 microampere. So if I suppose allow this 5 ampere to pass through it, then this will get damaged. Is it clear? So definitely we cannot do this thing that let's say 5 ampere, let this 5 ampere allowed to flow. So this galvanometer, this cannot be done at all. But let me tell you this thing also. If suppose in any circuit current up to 1 micro ampere only measurement, this measurement is required, then we can do this measurement by using this galvanometer directly. Will not be having any problem with this galvanometer then. Okay, because you can see that this is smaller than the maximum value that is allowed, right? So we'll not be having any problem with this current. But definitely for this current, this galvanometer will not work if it is passed through it directly. I hope you are getting the point. But we want to measure current up to 5 ampere. So what should be done? So here we try to do some modifications in the galvanometer. We try to do some modification in the galvanometer. What type of modification we do? See this. Here I'm going to tell you each and every thing about this conversion. This is the galvanometer, let's say. Here we have needle, right? And let's say actually galvanometer consists some kind of coil, right? So that coil must be having some resistance. Let's say this is G. This G is what? Galvanometer resistance. Galvanometer resistance, right? And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass 5 ampere current through it, right? And it cannot be done as I told you earlier, right, with this galvanometer, because it has very small current range. So in order to protect this, in order to make sure that this galvanometer works safely, we'll have to connect some resistance in parallel with it. Are you getting this thing? We'll have to connect some resistance in parallel with this. Now here uh, we may be having some problem with this, that sir, why are you connecting some resistance in parallel? Why in parallel? So this question may be in your mind with respect to this situation. Why in parallel only? Second thing, if you suppose got this answer why in parallel, then you might be asking how much, what value of resistance then, right? So let's try to find answers to these questions. Students, this is quite easy to understand that we actually do not want to pass this 5 ampere whole 5 ampere current through this galvanometer, because in that condition this galvanometer will not be working. So what should be done here? Let's connect one resistance in parallel with it, so that this current may be further divided, right? So I think I hope you might be getting the answer to this question why in parallel, because because we don't want to flow this current, whole current through the galvanometer. That means we'll have to divide this current, and division of current is possible only in parallel combination. So we are connecting some resistance in parallel. Is it clear? Are you getting this point? Why in parallel? Why in parallel? Okay, just a moment guys, just a moment. Okay, students. So this we have got the answer to this question, why in parallel. Now the second question is what value of this resistance. Students, this value, will have to manage this value in such a way so that when you pass the maximum, actually what is our object, we want to we want to produce an ammeter which can measure up to 5 ampere. That means we want to produce some kind of electric current measuring device which can have current range up to 5 ampere, means the maximum current is 5 ampere, right? And below 5 ampere current will be easily measured and the maximum is 5 ampere. But suppose if we produce such type of device which can measure current up to 5 ampere, and through that device if you suppose allow 6 ampere flow of current, then that device will also get damaged. So every current measuring device has its own current range or the maximum value that is allowed, right? Clear? So here, suppose this is to be made up to 5 ampere. That means 5 ampere is the maximum value which can be passed through it. So let's pass 5 ampere current, the maximum value through it, and we manage this resistance in parallel in such a way so that when 5 ampere, the maximum value when allowed to pass, then only 2 microampere, which is the maximum value for this galvanometer, passes through it, and the rest current passes through this parallel resistance, that is 5 minus 2 micro, like this. So you can see this is a very huge amount of large amount of current in comparison to this. So and if you want to pass large amount of current through this resistance, then you will have to make sure that this resistance S is a very very low resistance. So we say that this is what, just a minute students. Okay, so this resistance is what, very very low resistance. And now just think why low resistance is required, because we want to pass a very large current through it, and that is only possible if you try to recall the concept of short circuit. In short circuit, what do? We connect zero resistance wire like this in parallel, and when zero resistance wire is connected, then we can say the whole current will pass, the current will not get divided, whole current will pass through it. But as you can see here, we have very small resistance, so very large current will pass through it, right? And what happens now, see this, we have managed this like when the maximum value of current of ammeter is passed through it, then only maximum value of current which is for galvanometer passes through the galvanometer, right? So see this, we are passing actually 5 ampere current, but due to the presence of this low resistance wire, only the maximum value of current which is allowed to pass through galvanometer is passing through it, that is 2 microampere. Clear? So by doing this, you can see that as soon as 5 ampere current is passed, 2 microampere passes through galvanometer at the same time, and this galvanometer will start giving the full deflection. This galvanometer will start giving full scale deflection, because now you can see that galvanometer is accepting the maximum value of current that can be passed through it. The maximum value, for maximum value, it will be giving maximum deflection, right? And what do? We just close this circuit in a box, and only this interface, this needle interface actually is allowed to, it can be seen through the box. There is some transparent, we can say, glass we use at the box so that we can see this movement of needle, right? So it is only it is visible, right? And all other things are hidden in the box, right? So what happens, it actually, you see, when you can see this, that virtually it feels like when you pass some current 5 ampere through this circuit, then this galvanometer starts giving full deflection. That means virtually it would appear like this galvanometer is now having this current range, because on passing this current, this is giving full deflection. So virtually it will be seen, it will be observed like this galvanometer is now of this current range. Are you getting this thing or not? Tell me fast. So by just connecting, yeah, got it. Perfect. By just connecting a low resistance wire in parallel with the galvanometer, we are managing the current flow, like when maximum current of that device which is to be produced from this galvanometer, then maximum current of that device is passed, and current will get divided. This current will get divided in this manner only when when this low resistance wire is managed properly, right? And then the only the maximum value of current that can be passed through calorimeter now is passing through it, we can see. And now it is showing full scale deflection, so it is appearing like for 5 ampere it is showing full scale deflection. So virtually it appears like it has become this current range meter. So now we can say that it can measure current up to 5 ampere. And what do we do is we simply calibrate this scale. In at the middle we write 0, and at the last point we write 5 ampere, and all the remaining part can be calibrated with equal divisions, because we know that theta is directly proportional to I for this galvanometer. And in this manner we say that now this galvanometer has been converted into a meter. I hope you all have got this. Now let's do the same calculation by using unknown terms. Uh, in order to just explain this before you clearly, I took some known values, right? Let's do it in unknown form. So let's say we are having a galvanometer which has current range from 0 to Ig, and let's say we are let's say we want to produce some ammeter with current range 0 to I, right? So in order to produce this current range ammeter, let's do one thing. Let's connect very low resistance wire in parallel. This is a very low resistance wire, and let me tell you this thing that, students, this is known as shunt. Just remember this by its name also, shunt. So what is shunt? Shunt is a low resistance wire which is connected in parallel with this galvanometer. Shunt is what? Low resistance wire which is connected in parallel with galvanometer. Shunt, whenever it is mentioned about shunt, just remember that it is what? It is a low resistance wire which is connected in parallel combination, right? So now the situation will be this shunt is managed so that when maximum amount of current of the new device, that is ammeter, when maximum amount of current passes through it, only Ig passes through the galvanometer, and the remaining current passes through the shunt I minus Ig. So if you want to find the value of shunt, then you can do one thing simply, as both G and S are in parallel. So we can say that potential difference will be same. So we can say that I into R, this product will also be same. So I can write uh, Ig into G equals I minus Ig into S. Check this out. And here I got a value of S as uh, Ig into G divided by I minus Ig, right, everyone? And if I consider if I consider if I consider I by Ig as N, right, means this will imply that you want to make ammeter of how many times current range. as that of galvanometer. Suppose galvanometer is having current range 2 microampere, and you want to make an ammeter which has 1,000 times the current range of the given galvanometer. So that in that case you will be having n as 1,000, right? So you can see this, the formula for S will come out in that case as G by n minus 1. Okay, G will always be given to us, right, everyone? So this is one case. And also remember one more thing, that in case if you have Ig as very, very smaller than I, so in that case you can write I minus Ig approximately I, means S can be written as Ig into capital G divided by I. So this will be the expression for S. Got it, everyone? Okay, now if I ask to write equivalent resistance of this circuit, then that will also be very easy. You can see this equivalent resistance, both are in parallel. So GS by G plus S will be the equivalent resistance. Clear? Now what for, if we talk about ideal ammeter, if we talk about ideal ammeter, you know here you can see that this is the parallel combination and S is low resistance wire. uh, it is quite logical thing, it is quite logical thing that if you want to increase the current range of this galvanometer, how it can be done. To increase the current range, the increment in current range, how it can be obtained? It can be obtained by lowering the value of S, right? Because the S, try to lower the, yeah, decrease S, absolutely. Because when you decrease S, then this current will increase, and hence definitely, because this I is the combination of this and this current will increase, so this total I will also increase. So actually I just wanted to tell you one thing, that in parallel combination, the equivalent resistance which we get is smaller than the smallest value. Is it clear? So that means if you try to write the equivalent resistance of this ammeter, then that equivalent resistance will come out lesser than the value of S. Obviously, lesser than the value of S. Definitely. So that means this is actually when it is closed in a box, it appears like ammeter. This is ammeter. So this means that if you have a very small resistance, the current range will increase, right? So let us conclude this thing. Um, Actually, we are talking about ideal ammeter. So ideal ammeter has a resistance, effective resistance as 0, right? There is zero resistance of ideal emitter. Why zero resistance? Suppose we are having this simple circuit, this is E, this is R, and I want to measure current, right? And ideal emitter gives accurate reading, exact reading with no error, right? Gives exact reading. Is it clear? So why ideal ammeter must have resistance 0? Because if you connect ammeter in the circuit, obviously it measures current, so it is connected in series, then definitely it must not affect the resistance of circuit, right? It must not affect the resistance of circuit. So in order to do this, resistance of this ammeter must be 0. So that's why I'm saying ki if you if you want to measure exact reading, exact current with no error, then you will have to consider ideal ammeter. That means its resistance must be 0. Clear? But in practical, if you see, if you take any ammeter which is definitely made up of galvanometer like this, then you have some resistance given by GS by G plus S. So for real ammeter, we don't have resistance as 0. We have resistance as GS by G plus S, and this creates some problem. What kind of problem? This creates the problem that when you connect this resistance, this ammeter in series with some resistance, then it will affect the resistance of the circuit. So it will affect the current flowing through the circuit. So definitely the value which will be measured by this ammeter, real ammeter, that won't be the accurate value, that won't be the exact one. Clear, students? So this is the situation with the real ammeter. Now let me tell you something about real ammeter, that if you decrease the shunt value, if you decrease the shunt value, then obviously two things will be obtained. One thing is range of ammeter will increase, range of ammeter will increase, right everyone? And listen this thing also, uh, actually when you decrease the value of S, then effective resistance will also be decreasing, will also decrease. And I must say, see here logically you can remember this thing, that for a real ammeter to work like an ideal ammeter, we are supposed to decrease the resistance, and let's take the resistance very close to zero. And if you take somehow resistance as zero, then real ammeter will start working as ideal ammeter. But that cannot be practically possible. So here you can see that I am decreasing S, that will be decreasing the value of RA. That means this real ammeter, by decreasing the value of S, this real ammeter will go towards ideal ammeter. Means its tendency will be towards ideal ammeter if you decrease the S. And why I am telling you this? Because so that you may know that if you decrease S, then error of ammeter also decreases. Are you getting this thing? Just somehow, anyhow, just put value of S as 0. Take value of S as 0. So what will happen? In that case, the resistance will become 0. Resistance of emitter. And then it will become ideal emitter. So error will also become 0. So that means what? That means smaller the value of S, smaller will be the error of emitter also. Right, everyone? Got it, everyone? Great. Good. So this was about ammeter. We'll be doing some exercise related to this, but let's conversion of galvanometer into voltmeter. Now the conversion is very easy once you understand the conversion of galvanometer into ammeter. Now conversion of galvanometer into voltmeter becomes very easy to understand. So this is the galvanometer again. It has a very small resistance and it has very small current range also, right? The same situation, same type of instrument we are having again. And students, we want to convert, we want to get some kind of device which can measure, suppose up to some voltage 50 volt or 40 volt. I'm just taking an example. Suppose I want to get some kind of device which can measure up to 50 volt, but the problem is I cannot apply 50 volt directly to this galvanometer, because students, the galvanometer does not have large resistance. It has very small resistance like 50 ohm, 60 ohm, 40 ohm, let's say for 50 ohm. So what will happen if you connect this much voltage across this galvanometer directly? Then by using Ohm's law, you can say the flowing current in this situation will be 1 ampere, which is quite large than the range of than the maximum permissible value of current through the galvanometer. It is, I've already told you that it is only in micro ampere. So this is again quite large and this will damage the device. Is it clear? So we cannot do this thing. We cannot just apply whole 550 voltage across the galvanometer. So what should be done? How it can be used further? Yeah, connect new resistance in series. Perfect. Yes. So here let's connect high resistance in series. Why high resistance? Because we want to increase the resistance of this circuit so that when the desired voltage is applied, then current in this circuit may not exceed Ig. So as this current is very small, so in order to make sure that current not more than Ig flows through the circuit, we'll have to take one high resistance wire in series, right everyone? So just like the previous case, in previous case we were connecting some parallel resistance, but here we are connecting series resistance, and the requirement is very clear. Why we need to connect in series? Because we don't want to pass the current greater than the current range of galvanometer. So let's do the same thing in terms of unknown. Suppose this is 0 to Ig, having current range 0 to Ig, its resistance is G, and I want to get one device which can measure up to 50 volt, or let's say 0 to V volt. In terms of unknown, I want to solve this 0 to V volt, and this V is quite large. So what do? We just connect one resistance in series with it, so that when this amount of voltage, which amount of voltage, the voltage amount exactly equal to V is applied, then not more than Ig current passes through it. Exactly Ig current passes through it. And now we can write this. Let's close this in a box, and this will be the voltmeter. So it would appear like, suppose that was a case for 50 volt. Just try to uh, think with the 50 volt. So when you apply 50 volt here, and you have managed the value of R in such a way so that only Ig passes through it. So as soon as you apply 50 volt, here galvanometer will start giving full deflection. So that will mean that now it is ready to measure to, because for 50 volt it is giving full deflection. So apparently virtually it will be observed like it is now measuring 50 volt, up to 50 volt. Clear? So this is the concept behind this. And if we are supposed to find value of R, how much resistance, then let's use this formula, Ohm's law. Ig into, in series we know resistance, how resistances are added, and here capital R will come out as V by Ig minus G. So this is the formula for capital R, and if I write equivalent resistance of this voltmeter, so it will come out as G plus R. So you can see that resistance is increased. And one more thing, students, suppose if you are having galvanometer, resistance of galvanometer, the current range of galvanometer, so you can write voltmeter, voltage range for the galvanometer. So that can be written by using Ohm's law, Ig into G, and that is the maximum value of current and the resistance of the galvanometer coil. So this is the maximum value of voltage, and I can say that V by Vg is suppose N, right? Then the value of R which will be required can be written as V by Ig. Ig can be written as Vg by G, right? Minus G. So it will become like G into N minus 1, right? So we can also remember this formula, and just remember what is the value of N. What is N? N is what? The number of times the voltage range is made, right? So in the last case, we can remember this thing logically, that in the last case, actually low resistance wire is required. So that's why we divided G by N minus 1. And in this case, high resistance is required. So we are multiplying this G by N minus 1. We can remember this thing logically. Right, everyone? Now let's do the same thing. If you want to, if you want to decrease the error in reading, what should be done here? If you want to decrease the error, for ideal voltmeter, the resistance is infinity. You know this. For ideal voltmeter, the resistance is infinity. Why? Let's check this out also. Suppose you are having this type of circuit, right? And here we are having two resistances, and I want to measure potential difference across R1. So in order to do this, I'll have to connect a voltmeter in parallel. Voltmeter in parallel with R1. You can see this, right? And if this is having infinite resistance, if this is ideal voltmeter, let's say, so if it is ideal, then definitely it will be having infinite resistance. So no current will be flowing through this V. And if no current is flowing through this V, so definitely this V will not affect the resistance of circuit. So it will give ideally it will give exact reading. But for real voltmeter, which has actually high resistance, not infinite, when you connect real voltmeter like this, then definitely it will be affecting, because some current will be passing through it and it will be affecting what? It will be affecting the resistance of circuit, and hence definitely it will affect the potential difference value. So we can say that here you will get some error, right, clear. So here R is very large, RV is very large, but it is not infinite. So in order to increase the accuracy of voltmeter, what can be done? Just increase the value of R. And value of R, by increasing value of R, you can also increase the range of voltmeter, and this also decreases error of voltmeter, right? Means error measured is actually dependent of range. Okay, if anybody says that you are having microammeter and milliammeter, listen to me. If somebody says to you that you are having microammeter and milliammeter, now tell me which has a small resistance, micrometer or milliammeter? Which has a small resistance, micro or milli? Which will be having a small resistance? Both are made from galvanometer, we know. Micro or milli? Check this, which has small resistance. So it is saying micro. Maybe are you saying millimeter? Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else? Tell me quickly. Tell me quickly. No. Other students do not want to reply. Micro. Okay. Okay. Few are saying milli, few are saying micro. Okay, let's repeat the question. We are having two ammeter. One is micrometer and another is millimeter. It should be obvious to you that micrometer will be measuring current in microampere, right? And millimeter will be measuring current in millimeter. Okay, so now let's check the point which I told you in ammeter. The point which I told you that lesser is the resistance, greater is the range, right? Lesser is the resistance, greater is the range. Now tell me which has higher range, microammeter or milliammeter? Which has higher range? Which has higher range, micro or milli? Sweetland, Dio, Adria, higher range is for milli, absolutely. So smaller resistance will be for milli, yes, milliammeter. Clear, no? Clear? So those who are saying micro, those are incorrect, wrong. Actually, the higher range ammeter has lower resistance. Galvanometer, try to understand like this. Galvanometer is already having very small range. And if you want to increase range, you will have to decrease resistance. This is a fact. So here you are increasing range. This is having greater range. This is having a smaller range. So here resistance would be smaller. So this is a very frequently asked question. And let me write the question properly. Out of microammeter and milliammeter, which has small resistance? So your answer will be millimeter. The reason is it has greater range, and range can be increased only by decreasing the resistance in a meter. Clear? Okay. And if I ask the same question to you Okay, tell me one more thing, that which one will be more accurate, milli or micro? Which one will be more accurate, milli or micro? Sweetlane is saying micro, Melby is saying milli. Anybody? Anybody else? Students, I just told you that smaller is the resistance. See, think about ideal emitter. Ideal emitter, ideal emitter actually has zero resistance. So smaller is the resistance, greater will be the accuracy. That means greater is the range, greater is the range, greater will be the accuracy. Clear? So the answer will be again millimeter. So out of these two, error will be less for millimeter. Got it, everyone? Any confusion with this? Tell me. Any confusion with this? No. Great. Good. So we have completed ammeter and voltmeter part. Now let's try to solve few problems based on this ammeter and voltmeter. Okay, let's do some problems. Suppose I'm having a circuit. This is 10 volt, and here I have 9 ohm resistance. Here I have 10 ohm resistance, and here I have one switch. This is, let's say, 1, this is 2, and this is, just a moment, this is 3, and this is connected like this, ammeter, and here I have 1 ohm. This is connected like this. Okay, this is switch. Questions is, when switch is at position 1, reading of ammeter is 0.9 ampere. Calculate reading of ammeter when switch is shifted to position 2. Okay, think about it. Think about it. Getting any idea? No issue if you are not getting idea. See, First of all, let's think about like switches in position 1, right? So only this 9 ohm will be in the circuit. And listen, here you will have to make sense that this emitter must also be having some resistance. This is not the ideal emitter. How can I say like this, that this emitter is not ideal? How can I say like this? Can anybody tell me? How can I say like this, that emitter is not ideal? Because you can see that when switch is in position 1, then resistance in the circuit would be 9 ohm plus 1 ohm means 10 ohm. So current that should be passed in the circuit is 10 by 10 means 1 ampere, right? But the current is not exactly 1 ampere given. This is given 0.9 ampere. Are you getting this thing? So definitely here this ammeter must be having some resistance in it. Is it clear? So the first equation that can be formed is current 0.9 equals total voltage divided by total resistance, that is R plus 10. Hope you all are getting this. So here you will be getting 0.9 R plus 9 equals 10 means 0.9 R equals 1 means R equals 10 by 9 ohm. So this is the value of resistance that we are getting from the first condition. Now question is saying, let's connect this switch with 2. And now question is saying calculate the reading. Means question is now asking us to find current in the circuit. So finding out current would be very easy. 10 by total resistance. Now total resistance is 10. This 9 ohm will not be in the circuit anymore, right? 10 ohm now is in circuit. So 10 plus 1, 11 plus R means 10 by 9. Are you getting this thing, everyone? Tell me if you have any confusion with this. So take 9 LCM. This will go in numerator. 99 plus 10 means 109, right? So this is the answer. You can divide this also, but let me leave this like 90 by 109 ampere. Got it, everyone? Good. If you got it, let's solve one more problem. I hope now you'll be able to find this answer. Here I have one cell of some voltage. Sorry. This is 80 ohm. And here I have ammeter A1, ammeter A2, some resistance 20 ohm, connection like this. Further, let's say this is 40 ohm, and this is, let's say, A3, and this is, let's say, A4, right? So 4 ammeters are given. And let me tell you, A1 ammeter is ideal, right? A1 is ideal, that is given in the problem. A2 is real, so it must be having some resistance. Let me tell you the resistance of A2 as 20 ohm, right? A3 is ideal, and A4 is also real, and it is having resistance as 60 ohm, let's say. So question is, find the reading of each ammeter. Find the reading of each ammeter, right? Calculate this. let me give you one hint. What you should do, suppose A1, suppose you want to measure, or let me tell you in some other way. Just draw the circuit like this. This is 100 volt. This is 80 ohm. Here we have this circuit. 40 ohm. A2 is 20. 40 ohm. And then A4 is 60. 60 ohm. See this. You can redraw the circuit like this. What I have done, can you see this? What I have done? If you can, if you see here, I have replaced all the meter by their corresponding resistances. This is the only thing we are supposed to do. Like A1 is ideal, so we know ideal has zero resistance. So I just replace this by wire, connecting wire. A2 is of 20 ohm, so 20 plus 20 will make it 40. So here I took 40 ohm, right? And A3 is ideal, so here only 40 ohm will be present, and A4 is having 60 ohm, so here I connected 60 ohm. Okay, guys. Now, if you want to give the reading of A1, then give the reading of give the this current value. If you want to give reading of A2, give this current value. Let's say it is I2. Let's say this is I2. This is I1. And if you want to give this current value, give this current. And if you want to give reading of A4, give this current. Are you getting this thing or not? Everyone, tell me. Tell me first of all, are you getting this thing? Okay, good. Perfect. Now, let's solve it. So first of all, let's find equivalent of these three. Equivalent will come out as 1 by 40 plus 1 by 40 plus 1 by 60. This is parallel combination case, equals 1 by R. So the LCM is what? 120. And here 3 plus 2, 1 by R. R is coming out as 120 divided by 8. Getting it? So I think this can be cancelled. This can be cancelled by 15, huh? Right? So 15 ohm is the resistance of this value. So total resistance in the circuit is what? Total resistance in the circuit is what? Total resistance. 15 plus 80, that is 95. 95. This is 80, this is 15. So this will be 95. So this is 95 ohm. Clear? Sweetlin? Okay. So current I1, this will come out as 100 by 95. Check this. If you have any confusion, tell me. 100 by 95. Got it? Okay. Now this current will be further divided in the parallel combination. And you know how to divide current in parallel combination? That will be given by like this. I2 will be, because you know that current is in inversely proportional to R. When you write V equals IR, and in parallel combination you have V as same, so current is inversely proportional to R. This comes, right? So I can write I2 as, can see this, I2 as, I can write directly 1 by 40 divided by 1 by 40 plus 1 by 40 plus 1 by 60, right? Multiplied by the total current, that is 100 by 95. Okay, tell me, are you getting what did I do here? I just divided current, total current, okay? And we have already discussed it, how to divide it. Tell me, all other students, well, we got it, perfect. All other students, tell me this thing, got it, good, good. And in the same manner, you can write value of I3, I4. So you'll get all the answers. So this is very easy to solve, right everyone? Great. Let me give you a few illustrations for voltmeter. For voltmeter, let us solve few questions. Suppose I am having a circuit in which, just a moment. Okay. Suppose we are having a circuit in which battery is of 600 volt, and here I have 30 kilo ohm resistance. This resistance is 40 kilo ohm, and here voltmeter is connected like this, right? And this is connected like this. Initially, question is saying initially reading of voltmeter is 300 volt. Now the question is saying find the reading of voltmeter when it is shifted to 30 kilo ohm. Are you getting the question, students? First of all, clear me this, that you are getting the question completely or not. Getting the question? Okay, good. So first of all, you are connecting voltmeter across 40 kilo ohm. You are getting reading 300 volt. Now it is shifted to 30 kilo ohm. Now reading is required. Try to solve this. Getting the answer? Tell me the status. Getting the answer not. Okay, no problem. Let's see. First of all, we'll have to take in such cases resistance of voltmeter as R. Okay, you might be thinking like, sir, in the case when suppose resistance is infinity, what will happen? So no problem will be there. You will get value of resistance is infinity. Okay, so in such cases, suggestion says that just consider some resistance, unknown resistance from your side initially, right? So here you can see that the total effective resistance across these points will be 40 kilo into R divided by 40 kilo plus R, right everyone? So this is the total resistance here. Now we can divide this potential difference across these two resistances, and we know how to divide potential difference. This resistance value, that is 40 k R divided by 40 k plus R, multiplied by total potential 600, whole divided by the sum of these two. So 40 k R divided by 40 k plus R plus 30 k. Is it clear? And this equals what? This equals to 300. So I can cancel this out. This becomes 2, and here I can say that this further becomes 80 k R divided by 40 k plus. Okay, let's come back guys. So actually I was solving the problem, this situation. Hope you all are getting this point. How did I write this equation? Any confusion guys with this equation? Tell me, any confusion with this equation? Any confusion? No confusion. That's great. If anybody is having, okay, let me explain this once more. No issue. Listen, Adria, here I'm considering this resistance, capital R, from my side as the resistance of voltmeter, right? Is it comfortable? Okay, are you comfortable with this, Adria? This resistance, tell me one by one, step by step. Yeah. So here I wrote the equivalent resistance of this combination across these 2 points. Okay. So is it okay? Is it okay, Adria? This value, is it okay? This value, perfect. Now what I'm doing, I'm just dividing this potential difference across these two resistances, and actually across these points the potential difference is 300 volt. Means definitely the voltmeter measures the potential difference only across those points at which it is connected. So across these 2 points the potential difference is 300 volt. So what I'm doing, I'm just dividing this 600 volt across this combination. So this combination is having this resistance, so this is actually R1 multiplied by total voltage divided by R1 plus R2 equals the given voltage. Adria, tell me, is it okay? Tell me honestly, is it okay? This is step now, okay? Sure, that's great. Now we are further solving. Just cancelled 300 like this, then multiplied 40 by 2 makes it 80, and then I am bringing this denominator part at the right side, so it will be 40k R divided by 40k plus R plus 30k. From numerator I can cancel out k, right? Let's take LCM. Let's take LCM at the right side. LCM will be 40k plus R, and in numerator here we have 40R plus 30. When multiplied with the 40, it will give us 1200k plus 30R. Clear? Now this can be completely cancelled. This 40R plus 30R makes it 70R, and 70R will go at the left side, so 80R minus 70R will make it 10R equals 1200k. So R is coming out as 120 kilo ohm. Students, tell me, Got it or not? So by the given information, we just calculated what? We just calculated the resistance of voltmeter. Tell me, is it clear? Okay, good. Good. Now let's connect, draw the circuit again by connecting this voltmeter across 30 kilo ohm now. So the situation is, just a moment, situation is, this is 600 volt and here we have 300, that was 30 kilo ohm, 30 kilo ohm, and here we have 40 kilo ohm, and the voltmeter is connected like this, and here we have voltmeter resistance 120 kilo ohm, right? And now we want to find the reading of voltmeter. That means we want to find reading across these 2 points. Is it clear? Means potential difference across these 2 points. So let's write equivalent of these two. So equivalent will come out as 30 into 120 divided by the sum, that is 150. So this is cancelling out, and here I am getting 15 and 2. So 24 ohm is the answer for this, right? So now the situation is, the circuit has become like, this is 600 volt, and here we have 24 ohm, and here we have, sorry, this is 24 kilo ohm, kilo ohm, right? It is kilo, this is in kilo, this is in kilo, so it will also be in kilo ohm. And here we have 40 kilo ohm. So now let's write potential difference across the resistance. And how do we do this? 40 kilo divided by, 24 kilo divided by 24 plus 40, that is 64 kilo, right? Multiplied by the total value, that is 600. So kilo, this is getting cancelled out. I can cancel this by, this can be cancelled by, let's say 4 times, this is 6, this is 3, this is 8, and 3 into, I can further cancel this by 7 and 5. Clear? So this is 3 into 75, that means 225 volt is the answer. Check this, everyone, tell me, are you getting this or not? Everyone tell me, getting this or not? Yeah, good. Students, let me give you the basic idea behind solving such type of problems. The basic idea is, just consider the resistance of the instrument, whether it is ammeter or voltmeter. Obviously ammeter is connected in series, so we consider resistance of ammeter also in series, and voltmeter is connected in parallel, so we consider voltmeter resistance in parallel. And then we, if it is about voltmeter, then we try to write potential difference, and it is about, and if it is about ammeter, then we try to write current. That is very easy. Is it clear? So just try to solve questions from your sheet, and we'll be taking those questions in next class. Now students, I am going to cover today one more instrument, that is meter bridge. Students, tell me this thing, if I continue this class up to 5 p.m., will not you be having any problem with this? Do you have any problem if I continue this class up to 5 p.m. today? No problem. That's great. That's the spirit. Superb, superb, excellent. Students, meter bridge is also a type of instrument. We'll be seeing about it. And let me tell you, this is also known as slide wire bridge, slide wire bridge, slide wire bridge. What is it and how it works? Let's talk about it completely. Students, if you see it, this related to meter bridge, we have some experiment also in our syllabus. So this is also available in the physics lab of schools, right? So if we see in our lab, it appears like we have a rectangular wooden board, This is wooden board, right? Wooden board, and we have some copper stripes, and copper stripes are actually, there are two copper stripes which are in of inverted L shaped, like this, inverted L shape. I'll be telling you about each and everything, why we are taking copper stripe, why we are taking uh, any other thing, right? We'll be talking about each and everything. These are two inverted L-shaped copper stripes. And we have one more copper stripe which is rectangular connected like in between, right? Like this. Students, here we have a wire connected at these 2 points with the help of nails, right? That these nails are fitted into the board over the copper stripe. This is the wire we are having, and let's say this point is A and this point is B. This AB is what? Let me tell you something about AB. This is a high resistance wire, or let me tell you like this AB is a wire with high resistivity, with high resistivity and with uniform cross sectional area, and with uniform cross sectional area. The point of taking high resistivity, I'll be telling about this, why we are taking high resistivity, because just in order to get high resistance, obviously, but why high resistance is required, we'll be also talking about this. So first point is this, this is high resistivity, right? And this is this wire AB is, it is 100 centimeters in length, right everyone? That's why it is known as meter bridge. I'll be telling about the bridge term, but let's talk about meter, because this wire is 1 meter in length. That's why this is known as meter bridge. Meter word is used just because we are using 1 meter length wire, right? Next point, this wire AB, this wire AB has very low temperature coefficient of resistance. Temperature coefficient, just a moment, temperature coefficient of resistance, that is alpha, right everyone? So this has a very low temperature coefficient of resistance, right everyone? So the wire is having high resistivity. These are two characteristics, right? If somebody asks you about the two characteristic of this wire which is used in meter bridge, then you must mention these two things, that one thing, it is very high resistivity, and the second thing, its alpha is very low, right? So that what is the use of taking this low value of alpha? The use is, the benefit is, because in that case resistance shows almost no change with the change in temperature. So actually we don't want any change in the resistance of this wire. That's why we are taking this value of alpha is quite low. And let me tell you one more thing, students. This is made up of, it is made up of some kind of alloy. It is made up of alloy. This is a kind of alloy which is known as magnenin. Okay, you are not supposed to remember its composition, obviously manganese and tin type of elements are used, right? Copper is also used, and one more thing is also there, that is constantan. Constantan. Okay, so generally we take these alloys. And why do we take these alloys only? Because these alloy possess these characteristic: high resistivity and low alpha. So these alloys has have high resistivity and low alpha. Clear? So right now I just talked about the characteristic of wire, what kind of wire we use in this instrument. Let me complete the instrument now. Students, here we have few more nails drawn into the board. Here we connect one known resistance that is known to us, and across another gap we connect some unknown resistance like this. And students, here we have one more nail, and this nail is connected with a galvanometer. Galvanometer detects the flow of current, and this is further connected to a jockey. This is shown by some arrow, and this is known as jockey. And this is actually slided over the wire. This is just like a pen which is having insulated coating or insulating outer surface with the wire passing through it inside. It consists wire inside, and this is the outer coating is just like insulating handle, so that we can have a good grip, right? And we can move, we can slide this pencil or jockey over this wire, right? So this is jockey, right? And let me connect something. There is one more thing in the circuit, that is a scale. We have a scale. We have a scale which is just placed below the wire, and this scale is exactly 1 meter in length. This is a scale which is exactly 1 meter in length, and this scale is obviously calibrated, which is placed just below the wire AB, and the remaining part is battery. We connect a battery like this. We can use one switch, right? And we can connect like this. This is the complete diagram for meter bridge. Now students, let me tell you one thing that is that makes this device very interesting, and the thing is that here uh, we have the concept of Wheatstone bridge in it. It's we need to remember few things about it. Firstly, its use. What is its use? Second thing, what is its principle? On what principle it works? And the third thing is its working, right? How do we get that reading, right? So three things, we'll be talking about these three things mainly. So first of all, let's talk about use, right? Let's talk about its use. It can be used, let me mention this thing here. It is a device which can be used, which can be used in finding out unknown resistance, in finding out unknown resistance. So this is the first thing we are supposed to mention, right? This is the first thing. It is a device which can be used in finding out unknown resistance. Let's talk about its principle, and let me write its principle at this side. I'm right now completing this part for subjective point of view, for board exam point of view only. And the principle is, I can say, it is based on It is based on balancing condition of Wheatstone bridge. This is based on balancing condition of Wheatstone bridge. Now you might ask, sir, where is Wheatstone bridge in this diagram? We can't see Wheatstone bridge. Okay, so let's have a look at this diagram again, and suppose let me consider, uh, let me call a few points by name. Suppose this point is C, this point is D, this point is E. Let's say this point is F, this point is G, this point is, let's say, H. Right, everyone? Now see, here is the point of copper stripe. We know that copper is a good conductor, and definitely if we talk about it practically, we cannot ignore its resistance. It is a good conductor, although it possesses some resistance, right? So but it has very low resistance if it is compared with the resistance of AB wire, or it is compared with the resistance that we are using here and here. So this is the purpose of taking copper, because okay, we have a few more good conductors than copper, like silver, like gold, but obviously we cannot use that thing, in this instrument, because in that case the instrument will become costly, right? So it will not be feasible, right? So we prefer copper only. So we take here copper stripes, and copper stripes have a very low resistance, and this resistance, the reason of taking high resistivity of this wire is so that the resistance of copper stripes can be neglected, can be considered as negligible. Are you getting this thing? So that's why here we are taking copper stripe, and we are taking high resistivity of this wire. Because if you take low resistance of this AV wire, then copper resistance can never be neglected, right? So here, and why I'm saying that this neglection is important. We'll have to neglect this copper stripe, resistance of this copper stripe, because so that we can consider points A and C almost at same potential. Points A and C almost at same potential. Now just consider the graph, the given diagram, like let me try to draw this at the same page. Suppose this is point A, and I can show, we have already discussed point potential technique. So by using point potential technique, I'm writing C point along with A. You can see this because copper stripe is having negligible resistance. So A and C will be almost at same potential. Same will be with B and G, right? And same will be with D, E, and F, right? And let me consider point H at this side. You can see the battery, this battery is connected across A and B, so battery can be connected like this, across A and B like this, right? Now you can see that C and D are connected with capital R. So C is here, D is here, right? So these are connected with capital R. You can see F and G are connected with capital X. So F is here, G is here, capital X. You can see that G and H, sorry, B and H, B and H both are connected with this part of wire, this part. You can see this part, right? This is a high resistance wire, so we can represent like this also. So B and H are, you can see that in between B and H there must be some good resistance. So let's connect B and H by this resistance, and same will be with A and H. In between A and H there must also be good resistance. So this is the, let me represent this part like this. Now you can see that point E and H are connected with galvanometer. So E is here, H is here with galvanometer like this. Now you can see Wheatstone bridge appearing in this circuit, in this diagram. Tell me now, is this thing clear to you all, that how this meter bridge is based on Wheatstone bridge? Now you know about balancing condition of Wheatstone bridge? Because just I have mentioned the principle, and what does this principle say? That in case that it is meter bridge works on balancing condition of Wheatstone bridge. So what is balancing condition of Wheatstone bridge? Balancing condition of Wheatstone bridge is that if this resistance divided by this resistance equals this by this, then no current will be flowing through galvanometer, right? No current flows through this diagonal resistance, that is galvanometer, right? And this can be detected by galvanometer as well, because galvanometer gives us reading, and if it gives no reading, that means for that condition no current is flowing through it, right everyone? Right everyone? So this is the point, and this is how this meter bridge works. Now let me tell you this thing. Will not always be drawing this circuit from any meter bridge given, right? This I just uh, told you so that you may get the complete idea about how it is based on Wheatstone bridge. But we need not to draw it again and again, right? Now onwards we'll keep remember, we'll keep this thing in our mind that this is one resistance, and across ah the resistance will be another resistance, and this is another resistance, and this is another resistance. So every time when you will be facing such type of meter bridge, directly have this idea that which resistance ratio must be equal to which resistance ratio in order to get balancing condition of Wheatstone bridge. So here definitely R by resistance across AH must be equal to X by resistance across HB. Then only you will be getting no current through galvanometer, right? So we'll be now onwards we'll be writing this thing directly, R by this equals X by this. But students, let me consider here some resistance R1 and some resistance R2. And you know that if we talk about AB wire, we know that resistance is what? Rho L by A, right everyone? Listen this thing carefully. And definitely if length is decreased, if length, suppose this length is varying, then definitely this resistance will also vary, right? If this length is varied, then this resistance value will also vary. So it means if we slide this jockey towards right, let's say, if we slide this jockey towards right, that means which resistance will decrease and which resistance will increase out of R1 and R2 if I move this jockey towards right? Then definitely, no. If you are moving it towards right, the length of R2 part will decrease. So R2 will decrease and R1 will increase. Melby, do you agree with this? What I'm saying? Yeah. So if you bring this, if you move this jockey towards right, then this part length decreases and this left sided part length increases. So this resistance R2 decreases, R1 increases. And if I slide this towards left, opposite thing will happen, right? And by sliding in this manner, by sliding this jockey over the wire, we just try to get that balancing condition. And how would we come to know about the balancing condition? By observing the galvanometer reading. Because as soon as you get the balancing condition, means as soon as you get this ratio balanced, galvanometer will start giving zero deflection. Yeah. So this is the point. And students, listen one more thing. If you keep this rho and area constant, here listen this thing, I have mentioned this thing about AB wire with uniform cross sectional area and resistivity also constant. So if you maintain rho and A constant, then resistance becomes proportion in length. So let us write these all things in working and theory of meter bridge. Let us not write here these things. Let's continue these things in working and theory of meter bridge. So now I am going to tell you working and theory. Okay. So there is simple, this is the simple part which is left now. In working, I would say that the jockey is slided over the meter bridge wire in order to get the bridge balanced. Now I think you have also got this, why this is known as meter bridge, because it is based on Wheatstone bridge. So in order to get the bridge balanced, right, then what will happen? Let's come to the theory part. R by R1 will be equal to X by R2. Are you getting this thing? R by R1 equals X by R2, right everyone? And suppose this part is of length L centimeter, then obviously the remaining part will be 100 minus L length. So I can say if L represents balancing length or balancing point, listen everyone, this is also known as null point or balancing point. Both are the same thing. Then obviously students, we can write R1 by R2 equals, see this, how we can write R1 by R2 ratio R1 by R2. We can write this ratio in terms of length as well, means L by 100 minus L, right everyone? So this implies that equation one becomes what? R by L equals X by 100 minus L. And from this you can write value of X as R by L into 100 minus L, right? This is the expression for X. Now this thing is important. This thing also important, means whenever we get zero deflection, we get balancing condition, we can we write in terms of resistances. Here we can write in terms of length directly, means R by L equals X by 100 minus L. So R by this length and equals it equals X by this length, right? R by L equals X by 100 minus L. This can also be done. Is it clear? So now this thing is completed, the working and theory part is completed, and this part is completed, principle is completed, and the object is completed, right? Now it's the time to discuss few problems related to it. Let's talk about some problems, but still students, one more instrument, that is potentiometer, is left, but no issue, we'll be covering, we can cover this in next class, right? Today we have covered a lot. All the things have been discussed quite conceptually, basically. So that was also a good discussion. Now let me give you a few questions based on it. Let us discuss one question based on it. Okay. The question is that this is the meter bridge, right? And this is the meter bridge wire, and here we have X, and this is what, 100 ohm resistance, let's say 100 ohm, and here we are connecting galvanometer, jockey, and potential difference with the help of battery, right? Okay, question is, when X and 100 ohm are interchanged are interchanged, balancing point shifts towards right by 20 centimeters, right? Calculate X. Okay, try to solve it everyone. Calculate X. Okay, students, in the case when nothing is given about the length, we are supposed to take always it as 100 centimeter. Okay, that's why it is known as meter bridge. I have already told you. Okay, are you getting the answer? Students, are you getting the answer? Not getting? No? Okay, no issue, no issue. Guys, let me tell you one simple thing. Suppose here you are having balancing length L, right? Then definitely here the remaining part will be 100 minus L. Now, when you are exchanging these two, the balancing point is shifting towards right by 20 centimeter. That means initially I can make this equation. Is it clear? Number one. And finally, when I put 100 ohm at left and x ohm at right, this jockey is shifted towards right by 20. So that means the new diagram will be like at the left we have 100, at the right we have x, and at the left we have length as L plus 20, and at the right we have length as 80 minus L. Students, are you getting this thing? Okay, so let's form the equation again. 100 by L plus 20 equals x by 80 minus L. Now do one thing, just divide, no, just multiply these two equations and find out L. Or you can find out L from this and then put this L in this equation. Okay, so multiply this by both the equations, just multiply. So 100x divided by L into L plus 20 is equal to 100x divided by 100 minus L into 80 minus L, right? So you will be getting like this is 100x. This is completely getting cancelled out, and try to find out L from this and just put L in any equation. You will get the answer. Are you getting this thing? Okay, but we could have done this thing in one more way. You can see this. Students, let me tell you like this, that here the point is shifting towards right by 20 centimeter, right? So the point is final is this. This is shifted by 20 centimeter, right? Clear? So definitely the difference means I can say like if you try to observe the same thing in the diagram, when I when I take when I connect this 100 ohm at the left side and X ohm at the right side, you can think like uh, due to symmetry, 100 minus L length will be obtained at the left side now, and L length will be obtained at the right side now. Tell me, can we say like this? Can we say like that? Yeah. So if it is clear to you, then you can see that 100 minus L is nothing. It is what? L plus 20. Are you getting this thing? 100 minus L is nothing. It is what? L plus 20. Students, tell me, are you getting this thing? Are you getting this thing? Everyone, tell me. Tell me. Yeah, simple. Then you get the answer. Now you get L as 60. Check this. No. L as not 60. L as 40. Because 20 will come at the left, so it will make it 80. 80 equals 2L, so L is 40. Right, everyone? So now I can, yes, without solving this equation, I got value of L, and now I can write X by 40 equals 100 by 60. Right, everyone? So this is canceling out, this 2, this is 3. So X is what? 200 by 3, and absolutely correct, 66.66 ohm. Absolutely correct. Okay, so in this manner, we can avoid this quadratic equation, right? This calculation. Hope you all have got it, right, everyone? Any confusion? Tell me fast. Clear? So let's take a screenshot of today's class, and I'll be also giving you some homework, right?